everyone, this is Deborah. Welcome to my channel. I've been on here for over 14 years and I'm going to do a little catch up today about what's been going on in my life. As you well know, my son's fiance has an infection in one of her breasts from a nipple piercing. And she's had surgery many times before that they have cut it out, literally cut it out. And the other day she noticed a little redness around the nipple. And I told her to draw a magic marker around it to see if it spreads. And I gave her some antibiotics that I bought from the Dominican because sometimes I'm too sick to go to the doctor. And I know a lot about medicine because I took pharmacology for 5 years. I worked at the pharmacy at Walgreens. Well, I told her to take one the same time every day, 800 and I think it was 25 milligrams. Well, the next thing I know, I did some research and she said she believes she had MRSA. And MRSA can turn into staph, which is very life-threatening, people. My sister, who has passed from dialysis, she was in the hospital almost every month. She had MRSA because she had the port, because she was a severe diabetic and on, like I said, dialysis. So I told her, I said, Augmentin is not good for MRSA. I said, you need to stop taking it. Well, lo and behold, she's been so frightened and so scared. She took extra and next thing I know, the next morning it had spread here, from here to here. So then the next thing I know, she called out at work. She was now in pain and my son took her to the hospital and they said they don't have any breast specialists there. She needed to go to Charlottesville. So my son took her yesterday to Charlottesville and they sat in the waiting room for 7 hours and my son is like livid and I go, that's not unusual. I have taken your dad to the hospital and sat for 7 hours because he wouldn't stop throwing up. And after he'd been in the ER for a while and in the bed, I asked the doctors, I said, aren't you going to give him an IV? He's totally dehydrated. See, this is the point I'm trying to make. You have to be your own medical advocate. You must always have somebody in that room to monitor and to oversee what is going on or what is not going on, you see. So they waited 7 hours and my son finally left about, I guess it was 1 a.m. and he said driving home from Charlottesville in the middle of the night was a nightmare because of the deer that are out and about. Because this is called Hill City where I live. It's Hill City. And I have deer in my backyard, probably while I'm speaking to you. So he goes back this morning. Well, no, what happened was my surveillance camera, the batteries went dead and I didn't hear my alarm go off when he came in last night. So I stayed up all night, people, worrying about them, not knowing that my son had already arrived and was in the bed. He got up this morning and I had only slept for maybe 1 hour. And he gets up and says, Mom, where's the coffee? See, usually he makes me coffee. So he says, Mom, I got to go back. He says, but find out what room she's in, what hospital bed. I call back and she's still in the emergency room. So I made him a little care bag and with some Tums, some generic Tylenol, some water, toothbrush and toothpaste for his girlfriend. And he was grateful. I only had $1 to my name. I gave him that dollar. And he says, Mom, I'll make this up to you. It makes me cry. So, because it's an hour and a half each way, people. So, here's the bad part. if that wasn't already bad. The last time I saw her, this whole area here was inflamed. They gave her morphine and it didn't touch the pain. So let me tell you about pain levels. I've only been at a 10, I guess, 3 times in my life, with the delivery of both of my children and when I got hit by a car in Satellite Beach. I thought Muhammad Ali had beat me up because this whole side of my face was crushed. The lady hit me. My left leg did $2,500 worth of damage, and this whole side of my face was actually just crushed. They thought my eyeball was laying out on the road. I mean, when my husband came out and saw me. And when I got to the hospital, I was screaming for pain. I mean, I have never inconvenienced anybody. I have never been that loud about my pain. Oh yeah, if you're at a 10, you're going to be loud, and you're going to not just be loud, you're going to be screaming and crying. So, and I remember that's a 10, okay? I remember when I was breastfeeding my son, I got a little redness, and I went to the doctor. Now, these are old-timey doctors where you gave them $1 a month, and that would suffice. They didn't give me anything for pain. They just took an X-Acto knife, it looked like, a scalpel. They cut me and started squeezing out the infection, people. My husband's in the other room. I'm screaming. And he keeps hollering, "What are they doing? What are you doing? Are you hurting my wife? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I have to holler at him, I'm okay, because he did not know what was happening. I wish he had been in the room though, but all right, whatever. They squeezed out a half a jar of green pus. So you ladies, you've got to watch your breasts. They're very delicate to this kind of things. Now, they inserted a ribbon in the incision, and the doctor said, "I'm not going to stitch you up, as it's going to heal from the inside. The ribbon will fall out." And yeah, this can happen to anybody. It's not really about cleanliness or anything like that. So get that off your mind. I'm one of the cleanest people you've ever met. My mother was a Clorox nut. So yeah, pain levels. They know if you're screaming and crying, you're at a 10. So I haven't heard any more from them. I haven't had my car for a couple days, but that's okay. And, you know, a lot of people don't like my son's choice. But let me tell you what, you can't help who you fall in love with. And you really should never come in between two people in love. Never. Because then you become the enemy. You see what I'm saying? I am a very forgiving person. In fact, some people say I'm too nice and too forgiving, because I have always forgiven people after a certain amount of time goes by. So yeah, she's always been pretty much polite to me. If someone is polite and courteous to me, you know, they're a keeper. But there are a lot of people in my family, and I'm the oldest of like 5 generations, where I don't want anything to do with them. Nothing. And I think when you get into your 60s, you start realizing who's been in your life, who's been important, who's cared, who's called you when you were sick. You know, I have 2 sisters. One of them texts me all the time. Now, she just... her commode overflowed in the middle of the night. She lives in Woodbridge, Virginia. Her commode overflowed in the middle of the night. Her daughter, tells her to get up to address the situation. Now, she's been disabled for years. As she's coming down the hallway, her ankle just breaks in many pieces. So she's in the hospital getting plates and pins put in. And I'm thinking, My son says, Mom, no one's been to the hospital more than I, and I'm laughing at him because a lot of times in my life, he hasn't been there for me. Because when I left his dad, you know, it caused a great deal of contention with my children. They couldn't understand it until they lived with him as adult children, and then they go, Mom, we get it, we get it. Yeah, so there was many times, my son doesn't realize that I've had a right hip replacement, a left hip replacement, a spinal fusion, a laminectomy, I've had a hysterectomy, I've had a cyst the size of an orange taken out of my ovaries, and I've also had fibroid tumors taken out as a myomectomy, and almost bled to death on the operating table because I have this weird thing that my doctor said he'd only read about in medical books. I have a major blood vein running through my abdomen, and when he cut into it, I have Rh negative blood, which is very rare. It's called alien blood. If you don't believe me, Google that and you will find out all about me being an alien. I tell people the story. They think I'm nuts. No, I'm not nuts. Google it. So, yeah. And so my son hasn't been there for really any of my surgeries. My friend since 7th grade has, and my sister-in-law was there for me when, because during my divorce, people always gravitate to who has the money. Well, my husband had the money, so no one wanted to have an alliance with me because then they would lose that connection to him, you see. Some people will choose the money over family or love or whatever, so be prepared for that. So I guess that's enough of hospital stuff, but I'm gonna tell you what, I just had my blood taken for the first time, I guess in a year and a half. My cholesterol's through the roof. I have to totally rethink my ice cream habit. That's my addiction. I like to have a little bit of ice cream. Yeah, and carbohydrates. Yeah, my cholesterol is not severe, but it's bad. And it's only because of the stress of moving. Moving is very stressful, and I was supposed to go and get my last load yesterday, but I don't dare inconvenience my son and his fiance about this. That's not important. That's not important at all. Your health is the most important, and I'm trying to get them on the right path. My son hasn't had his eyes checked, I don't know, in years, probably since he was a kid, you know. So yeah, go get your, what is it called? CBC? I forgot. Yeah, go get your blood test, get your triglycerides, get all that, because I have to watch that because my sister was a severe diabetic. So bye everyone.